All right, everybody. So, just a quick little recap video on just that little technique that we did, the finger picking technique. So, I want to talk about that, and I want to add in two new chords as well into the repertoire there. So first of all, the picking technique is simple enough, and it's not something. It's definitely not something you're gonna have to be able to do for the session. So definitely don't worry about it. It's really just for yourself, just to have a different way of playing chords that doesn't necessarily involve strumming. So here it is. So what you want to do is just the main thing about it is getting to a point where you can find this position really quickly just by muscle memory, right? And you ideally want to be able to do it right away. Obviously, you can look, but ideally if you can just kind of feel your way onto it and just be familiar enough with the instrument to just get it without looking and to be able to find it easily and quickly, because that way you can get back to it and just get right on it without skipping a beat. So it's important that you can kind of find it quickly. But anyway, here's the setup. So thumb on the top string, then first finger, second finger, and third finger. Now, so you don't want to hook them underneath like this. You don't want to kind of pop them necessarily anyway. So just kind of have it on. So just whatever allows you to kind of just, it's not really, you find your ideal position yourself. Whatever allows you to do this easily without your fingers getting caught, but while still getting enough volume out of it as well, that's the position to take. So, and then all I want you to do for now is just, you can throw a chord on it, use chords. Obviously I would encourage that, but you don't have to. If you just want to focus on the picking technique itself, you can just leave it open. So get your position and just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, what's important when you're practicing this is that it's steady. Okay, so you don't want to kind of then have to refine the position, reset it, and then do it again. So if you can't quite do this much, then just slow it right down, but you want to keep the proportion in it, right? So something like this then. Now that's very slow, but more importantly than that, it's steady. And that's what you're after. So if you can do that for a little while, then chances are you could probably do, with a little bit of practice, then more practice, then a lot more practice. So that's pretty much it. And it's just a nice little way of breaking up the chords, giving you that kind of almost harpy kind of effect, as opposed to strumming. So the two chords then are D major and A major. Okay, so here they are. Now, D major is a pretty tough one for one reason, and that is you're kind of cramming your fingers into a very tight space. They're all on the second fret, all next to each other. Okay, so a good way to go about it. Now, a lot of people do this chord like this, with their fingers in a row like that. Now, that's not technically wrong, but the problem is that it forces your first finger all the way back there, right? And it's going to be very difficult to kind of push it back in to actually get a clean note. So a better way to go about it is to get your first finger. Now, I'd normally say get it right up to the fret, but in this case, we kind of need to go back a little bit just to make room. Okay, so first finger on the second fret, just out there. Then middle finger goes above it, third finger goes under it on the string underneath it. So that's all on the second fret. Now, because this one is pushed back a good bit, you'll need to compensate for that by squeezing it down a bit harder. The closer you are to the fret, the less pressure you need to get a note. So if I just keep the same pressure, and now I need to hold it down harder to get a note again. So go back here, about a centimeter away from the second fret, middle finger goes on the string above it, third finger goes on the string below it, and just make sure they're not kind of creeping over the fret. And as well as that, make sure that this first finger is not being pushed back behind the other one, because that's a different chord now. So it's just a case of really kind of, I suppose, shoving your first finger right up against the other ones, just to make sure it stays put. So there's D major. And as I'm always saying, you're always going from one chord to another. It's never just playing a chord, right? So from there to get to A, just take away your third finger and allow your first finger to go back a fret. There's A major. Keep in mind as well, there's A minor. And there's A major. Not to be confused with F. F is when you skip this string and go down here. So there's F, there's A major. Back up to D. So it's a good idea to kind of go back and forward between those two chords. A, really get that first finger right up there on the second fret. There's D again, back. Okay, so just practice those two chords, see if you can incorporate them in, and then, knowing those ones, then that'll kind of open up the amount of songs we can play, and obviously, kind of any songs that include those chords, which are very common, we can do them. So just take your time and get those chords under your belt, and that really repetitive, grindy kind of practice. That's always the best way to do it. Just again. Have a look at how you're doing it, and make sure that there's not too much wasted movement or unnecessary movement like that. But once you're happy enough with the way you're doing it, then just back forward, on and on and on and on. All right, keep it up. I'll see you next time.